Welcome to this workshop video all about defining self-love and why it's so important. In my happiness project survey, one of the questions was simply, do you love yourself? 23% of all of the people answered no. 22.5% of females said that they do not love themselves, and 23.9% of males said that they do not love themselves. It's around about the 23% area of people who do not love themselves. And this survey was cast over a bunch of different ages. Self-love is something that we're going to be talking a lot about in the next couple of videos, but sometimes it's a little bit difficult to define. One of my other questions in my survey was simply to define self-love in your own words. And I want to read you some of my responses because I think that these definitions are beautiful. Self-love is when someone understands their own essence, their own shortcomings and strengths, and can be motivated to improve themselves for the sake of who they are. Acceptance. Self-love is creating gratitude for myself. Self-love is choosing positivity and peace. Self-love is accepting myself as I am, loving myself not in an egotistical way, but in a constant state. It is pure but humble, and acknowledges flaws without being self-critically nasty. Self-love is being able to see both your strengths and your weaknesses. Self-love is being comfortable, content, happy with yourself. Self-love is being proud of yourself. Self-love is comfort, confidence, contentment. Self-love is doing things that fill my cup. Time with good friends and family, being at the beach at sunset, taking time to see beauty. Self-love is realizing you are the only person you have your whole life. Self-love is treating yourself like the freaking awesome person you are. Self-love is giving fundamental care as you are only human. Self-love is being able to tell yourself that you are perfectly imperfect and it's okay. Loving yourself to the maximum amount and not letting anyone control your self-reflection with their words. Self-love is taking care of yourself. Self-love is when you make improvements in your life or on yourself, it's coming from a positive place instead of a negative place. I got hundreds of responses and they were all beautiful, but those were a couple that stood out to me that were sort of general themes. I love this idea that self-love is not only accepting the good things and seeing the good that we are all filled with, but noticing where we can improve and attempting to improve it in a positive way instead of beating ourselves down. I think that that's a really great definition of self-love. All of those are. As for why self-love is so gosh darn important and why I'm going to be dedicating quite a few videos in this workshop to it, I made a video back in January all about why I think it's so important. As I was watching it and taking notes, I was going to try and recreate it, but I really think that I articulated it wonderfully back then, and I don't want any of that to get lost in translation. So I'm actually going to insert some clips from that video in here to explain to you why self-love is important. So here's a throwback to Cassie with blonde hair. I read a book called You Are a Badass. I've talked about it so many times. It's just a great book. Please go read it. Each chapter was about something different, but at the end of every chapter there was a list of bullet points and things to do based on what she had talked about in the chapter. But the last bullet point was always to love yourself, because loving yourself is so incredibly important. But sometimes it's really hard to love yourself, especially when the world around us so often points out things that are wrong with us, or points out things that we should be doing, or points out whatever perfections other people have. One example that she gives in the book that I really like that kind of just reinforces this idea of why you are awesome and why you should believe it is when you have someone that you really admire and you just think they're amazing. I mean, they're beautiful, they're talented, they're smart, they're the full package. If someone came up to you and said, so-and-so is so ugly, you would look at that person like they were insane. You would be like, no, that's not true. When we believe that this person is so wonderful, we believe in them. Nobody else can say something that will change our minds or convince us otherwise. But when we think for a while that we've been doing a good job in a class, or that we have been looking really cute lately, and then someone says the opposite to us, we instantly believe them. Why do we put more faith in other people than in our own selves? We are the ones who know ourselves better than anyone else in the world, and that is such a scary thing, but it's also such a wonderful thing because it means that we get to believe in ourselves when other people don't. We get to trust in ourselves when other people think blasphemous, terrible, obscenely wrong things. We know the truth, and we're the only ones who can truly know the truth. We can try to communicate our truths to other people, but sometimes other people just suck. Sometimes other people just don't want to hear it, and they just want to believe the worst about people, and that's their thing. I'm not gonna say it's okay, but It's their prerogative, and sometimes you can't do anything about it. But what you can do something about is how you feel about yourself and how you go about life and view yourself. But I do want to caution this with that there is a fine line between self-love and being self-centered. For me, at least, I think that being self-centered sometimes comes from a place of insecurity. It doesn't come from a place of true, genuine love. It comes from a place of needing recognition from others of the things that you like about yourself. Does that make sense? Whereas self-love is you know these things about yourself, so you live your life, and of course people will observe them and comment on them, but it's not about that. Self-love isn't about other people recognizing it. It's about you recognizing it. Hence, self-love, not other people love. If not for your own sake of self-love, love yourself and be humble about it for the sake of the people around you. When you love yourself, you attract much more love into your life from others too. And hopefully, if self-love becomes a priority for enough of the world, maybe we can help the rest of the people love themselves too. All I can ever ask for is to help someone else, and that's just what I live for. I think that it's so important to work on yourself for yourself, but also work on yourself for the people around you. I think it's really important on our self-love journeys to recognize that everyone can achieve self-love, but in order to do so, you really need to want it. It's not something that can come from a negative place. You need to want it, you need to be willing to work for it, and you need to be open-minded and willing to accept yourself for the beautiful human that you are. It's a lot easier said than done, and it's going to be a journey, and it's not going to happen overnight, and it maybe might not even happen in a year. Every step of the way is progress, and that's what's important. So over the next couple of videos, I'm going to be talking about managing stress and self-care and how to love yourself. Of course, I'm still on my self-love journey, but these are some things that I've learned so far, and I hope that they help you out. I hope that gives you a great idea of what self-love exactly is and why it's so important to manifest in our lives, and I hope that my workshop can help you to achieve it. I'll see you in my next video. Okay, bye!